Basically, what happens is we notice is like even I've worked elsewhere before I joined in my own dad. A few firms have their own designs, standard designs, I should say, right? And they tend to follow the same thing for any house. So it's like if you look at their one house and you look at the next 10 houses, it's the same. So I kind of fail to digest the fact कि सब 10 लोगों की requirements are absolutely the same, you know. So that's where we come into it, that I personally feel it should be vice versa. It's like if somebody looks at our design, it shouldn't be that आपने एक डिज़ाइन देख लिया, एक घर देख लिया और अगले 5 घर देख के you can say, oh, this is a VMA design. It shouldn't happen that way. So each set of people have their different set of requirements. And I think looking their kind of nature, requirement, choice, then you should be giving it a thought and designing it accordingly. So it should look different. It should define their personality. So whether I'm doing a house or an office for them or whatsoever. So it should define as per their own persona. The purpose, as in I am talking about the purpose of each project that I'm speaking about. So there may be some residents or some client who's fond of classical architecture. There may be some client who's fond of for say if you've gone through our schools etc. that we've done. This client of ours, Mr. Ashok Kataria, he is I want all my structures to be classical. I want all of them to be ochre in color. And that's his basic requirement. So even if you're going to present him with a straight line or a modern design, it's going to be like that's my choice, that's what defines me. But at the same time, we can do modern structures, we can do things like that. So looking at each client at whatever they're looking at and accordingly dividing for their purpose. It's ultimately they're the end user. So whatever they require in the end, and that's how we go about. That's what we're here for, right? I mean, if I am not looking out for a new design from my own thing, then what am I here for? I mean, I'm not here to copy paste, right? So I'm not here to do that. So each design should be different. Of course, there may be certain kind of I don't know, elements that can be repetitive, that represent your kind of designing, but I can look at myself repeating the entire concept for every random, though that may be 10 times quicker. It's okay, the other person is spending that kind of money, and it's not, I mean, I keep saying this one thing, that it's not like you're designing a shirt or you're not into fashion. It's a house that they're going to do. A shirt you're going to wear 5-10 times and you're going to throw it off. A house is going to be done once in 10 years. So at least for those 10-15 years that you're going to be giving the client the end product, you can give it a thought for a couple of days and make it something new for him. So I think that's our duty to do that. So I think I'm pretty sorted with that thought process for sure. Yeah. Of course, it depends the number of bedrooms, etc. So you may be having a grandparent room, you may be having a parent's room, which is going to be the master bedroom or so. You're going to have a children's bedroom where there may be a boy or a girl, or there may be 2 boys or 2 girls of completely different requirements, completely different natured. And you basically have to understand them. So that's how we tend to meet them a couple of times. What we personally do is we try and ask them to shortlist certain picks from their end. So if I'm meeting a young child who maybe, say for me, when it comes to designing, any guy or a girl in school is going to be young because they're not good enough to explore how a design should be. So the simplest way we say is, what would your dream room or dream house would be? So they Google it. I mean, kids are pretty smart at tabs right now, so they Google it, they send us certain pictures, and we tend to adapt. Okay, these are their likes and dislikes. Then what are the colors that they like and they don't like? Because with children, you're not going to be giving an evergreen design because they need something young. So, like guys, 9 out of 10 guys are fond of cars and bikes and speed and etc. Girls, fashion, pinks, all these. So yeah, you tend to give a lot of girly stuff to the girls, of course, and bold stuff to the guys. Sometimes there are girls who fond of very bold stuff as well, very bold, strong colors. So you have to understand them. At the same time, when you're talking about elderlies, you're talking about something absolutely simple and sober. They're not looking out for something very loud. It's not a hotel that they're going to be staying in. So for them, extreme luxury is like कि 3 दिन hotel में गए and it's comfortable. But when you're talking about a house, they want what a home should be. So then you have to blend in your designs accordingly. So especially in such cases, what happens is then we give the living and the dining the maximum priority, where the clients look out for, that's our hotel area where we're going to entertain our guests, etc. So we want it to be as lavish as possible, and rooms we want it to be as simple as possible. So that's how we go in. When you talk about cultures, it's random. It's like you tend to understand the family actually within the first meeting by kind of experience that we're having. So there's this set of family who may have the utmost requirement, maybe their mandir, and they would want the mandir to be in the center of the hall. It's okay, and because mandir सबसे important है, so you make that as the standout feature alone. There are certain families जिनको फर्क नहीं पड़ता और किचन के कोई टॉप कॉर्नर में आप डाल दो, and even that is absolutely okay. So it depends family to family. Diversity, yeah, I mean there are people who are old school, so you have to go as per this, like certain people who follow the Vastu tradition, etc. It may hamper our design. See, I won't deny that. I mean, it may hamper to a certain extent our design, but then they are the end user, right? It's not my house that I'm going to be moving in after I hand it over to them. It's their house, they're the end user. And in the end, we look out for building relationships for the rest of our lives. Today, I am renovating those houses which my father did in 1980s. So it's their second generation with my dad's second generation, that's me. And we're working on together. So we're not one of those who prefer one-timer clients. My design from 10 on 10 may go to 8 on 10, but then they're the end user. You know, so certain times you go and you choose some tapestry or some bathroom tiles or something or some marbles, and you don't tend to like them. But then the client is stubborn about them, or they really like them, or whatever you want to put it up as. So you have to think of something that, you know, is going to suit. Eventually, like I said, they're the one who's spending money. They're the one who are going to stay inside. So fair enough. The new variety the colors that you've shown, the pastel shades, etc. So it gives the subtle look, etc. Especially with the project that we're beginning, that's how we got to know Aludecor, honestly speaking. And the combination of two, it's a school that we're renovating, and actually it's the school that where I passed out from. So it's a way of me thanking the school what the school's given me till date. So it's like that. So yeah, of course. I, as an architect, would love to explore new materials. You know, that's how I'm going to come up with new designs and new outputs for clients. But then in the end, like I said, clients the end user. Right. So they are supposed to be liking the feel, etc. of it. For me to show how the feel is going to look, it's pretty simple nowadays. Just come up with a 3D software and, you know, you can come up with the images that how is the stuff going to look like. But eventually they're the end user who are going to approve it. Now there are a certain set of clients who go like, Mr. Mehra, we trust you blindly. These are the keys. आप बना दीजिए 6 महीने घर ले लीजिए and hand it over to us. Right. Now, where we have that sort of freedom, we're not worried about using any sort of materials. Where A, of course, the budget is not in a priority, and B, the client trusts us. Either he's a new one, which is very rare, but the old ones, they just hand over the keys. So out there, yes, I can try out something new and without even asking him. And I know their taste. So I'm pretty confident about even if I'm using something new, I know he's going to adapt to it. But when you're talking about somebody whom you don't know, and you're talking about an investment which is going to be equivalent to a material like an Italian marble. Right. So there, the thought process is very difficult for me to decide, because कई लोगों का होता है दिखने में आना चाहिए कि उतना पैसा खर्च किया है. You know, that kind of thought process that certain people have. So an Italian marble is an Italian marble. You know, the old school thought process is, oh, look at it the way it shows. So I can't change that. It's a fact. It's a material, right? I can't do something to it. So there are certain people who have that, but then when you can change it, why not? I mean, there was a time that people would just use paint, and I honestly don't even remember when we last used paint in any of the residences that we've handed over. Just wallpapers everywhere. For that matter, people could not imagine wallpapers on the ceiling. We've been using wallpapers even on the ceiling right now. So, you know, it takes time to bend out of the box, but then once you do, and with the advances in the software, so now they can imagine, okay, this is how their thing is going to look like if we go ahead with it. So there are people who can agree on it. I would say 8 out of 10 would agree on it, at least to give it a try. Mr. Mehra is not fluent at all with it, but yeah, I am trying to make him as much as I can. But in the end, he and I are firm believers that how strong a sketching can be, because, you know, If you're in a meeting with a client, you say the options, you may prepare 2 or 3 options. What if the client doesn't like any of them? And you can think of a 4th one on spot, understanding his new set of requirements. So sketching at that moment is possible. Editing on the computer and giving him a new print is not going to happen. So yeah, sketching is the first priority for us. For that matter, even the staff that we hire, that's the first question we ask, is because softwares can take care of our technology, can take care of the output, no doubt, but you sometimes do require, you can't be an absolute blank person when it comes to holding on to a pencil or a charcoal. You need to have a little free movement in your hand for that. So yes, we give that a priority. And of course, we blend in. So it's his old school with our modern thing, and we blend in together and we try coming up with the output. So like nowadays, the good thing is classical interiors are coming back in fashion, where you've got the cornices and the moldings, etc. So since I have begun my practice, since just the past 18 months this has started. So I had no clue about it, though my house itself is a classical house. But now getting the hang of it. So it's his expertise, his classical knowledge that he's transferring on to me, which we are then using it on the computers, and we're making views for the clients to show how their house is eventually going to look at. So it's his sketches that get transformed into 3D designs then. Yeah, that's how it goes.